is amplitude modulation and frequency modulation mode. AM modulation was mainly in medium wave and short wave band, and it is done only by the public service broadcaster of India, that is All India Radio. FM broadcasting is done by both public broadcaster and private broadcaster, and private broadcasters, they pay the spectrum fees. In addition to that, Government of India also permitted community radio stations to start in India. So we have around 250 community radio stations in the country. All India Radio has got 422 FM transmitters, and in private sector we have 293 FM transmitters spread over 82 cities and operated by 32 different groups. Then all these community radio stations, which is a recent addition, they are having low coverage of 10 kilometers around, but the whole FM is now covering almost 99% of the population. That is terrestrial broadcasting. Other than this, there is radio broadcasting that was started again in the satellite mode, but as of now in India we don't have much satellite radios. The next big change is the internet-based broadcast of radio programs. Now, the last report says out of the 140 crores population of the country, 88 crores people are having the access to internet. It's a big achievement for a big country like India with such a large population. With this access to internet, now internet radio, podcasting, streaming, etc. has become very popular. Mr. Gaurav will be shortly joining us. He will be dealing with mostly the internet-based radio broadcasting. And this is going to change the scenario of broadcasting in India. Now, other than the transmission, there is digital technology used elsewhere in the production chain and also in the distribution chain. They are already in digital. Now, what is lagging? Lagging is only digitization of the FM band. Now, AM is concerned. AM is already digitized by Government of India, All India Radio, with a DRM technology. There are around 38 transmitters already in digital mode. You may be aware, there are 5 lakh cars on the road in India with a DRM radio already fitted. So AM mode digitization has already happened. Now why it is not happening in FM mode? You know, analog has got a lot of disadvantages. All of us know about it. The major of that, its spectrum efficiency is very poor. Now, Radio Mirchi, a program head is here. She knows, she has taken license for a particular frequency, but they can transmit only one program. But with the digitization, we can have up to 4 programs. That means you can have all genres of programming, whether you can have a classical music, a cinematic program, or you can have different other genres, some pop music or anything like that. So with one channel, it would be possible to have many programs. That is going to be the biggest advantage of digitization. In addition to that, you require very less power. Now, International Telecom Union, ITU, has already recommended or discussed about 4 possible technologies. One is DAB, Digital Audio Broadcast. Then ISDB, Integrated Services Digital Broadcast. HD radio, or we call high definition radio, and Digital Radio Mondial. Based on this ITU discussion, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India in 2017 July already issued a consultative paper on all these four technologies for all stakeholders to discuss and for Government of India to act. Now, the brief about these four technologies. DAB is widely popular in Europe, but that is in VHF band 3 and L band, which is not allowed as on now in India for broadcasting. So DAB is immediately cannot be considered, rather, as the spectrum is not available for broadcasting. Then ISDB-T is a standard which is developed by Japan, and it is having across all spectrum, terrestrial, cable, satellite, all modes it is covering, and which is a totally different technology. Left with the two technologies, one is HD radio and the DRM radio. HD radio, high definition radio, it is started by Ubiquity Corporation long back, and it is mostly famous in America and Latin American region. And next is DRM, Digital Radio Mondial, which is started somewhere in 2003, and in FM mode they have done the projects in 2007, and by 2011 in India we had the test transmission. So these are the four technologies available. Out of that, two are the main contenders, that is HD radio and DRM radio. So this is in a nutshell about the digitization process which is there. So today, to discuss all this, we have the panels, and in this we will discuss certain points. The availability of and cost-effective radios. What should be the recommended policy on digital radio in FM mode? What are the potential strategies for the acceptability of the technology? Then what is the opinion about the broadcasters on converting FM to digital, and how we should implement it, whether it is a phase program or go in one go, and what is the long-term viability of this technology. So the panel will take on to these points in the course of our discussion. Thank you. Mr. Sarath Sadhu to come and put his points of view in what is discussed so far.
I'm happy to note that even in its first edition, the conference has done pretty well, and the exhibition too. We already know that India is already having a digital radio in the medium wave band, and Mr. George has also given you the details. So we are already digital in the radio. My brief introduction to you would be on the digital radio in the FM band, in the frequency modulated band. That is the band where most of the commercial radio stations and operators are operating. And the theme of my short introduction is that now is the time for FM broadcasters to go for digital radio. And why I'm saying that is because I believe that all the elements in the digital radio ecosphere, almost all are in place, and now is the time for us to see whether we can go for that. Just a bit of information. Recently, the Indonesian country, the whole huge country of 270 million people, they have promulgated a digital radio standard for their national radio, and the standard is the DRM standard, which Mr. George has already explained to you. And this has been promulgated for FM bands, for medium wave, and of course in band 3, which is the previous TV band. Now this is a very good development for digital radio in the region. In addition to making this as a standard, they have selected the frequency channels. As you can see in the slide, the frequency slot for FM band DRM is 100 kilohertz, same in the VHF band 3. They also worked very hard and identified channels for each of their areas, coverage areas, As you know, Indonesia is a large country and they have done all the homework. So, in brief, we can say that the whole plan of Indonesia is complete, and now the operators are working on implementing the digital radio in various bands, including in the FM band. Currently, 5 FM transmitters are operational in Indonesia. You can see on the coastal regions with the red dots, and these are working on transmitters, 5 FM DRM transmitters, and these are mainly employed for programming as well as for the emergency warning, for tsunami warning, and so on. So Indonesia is already going to DRM FM, and the transmissions are already on. Now the argument that I want to make is, why should you consider the DRM standard for FM radio, digital radio in India? What are the compelling reasons for that? And one of the reasons is that as against one audio program in an FM channel, analog FM channel, DRM provides 3 programs. As you can see, program 1, 2, and 3. And in addition to that, it provides data services. And that's why I have put the title 3 radio services plus. And the plus is the data services. So this is because of the efficiency of the DRM digital signal. In addition to that, as compared to the analog FM, the transmitter power required by the digital radio DRM is 1/10 for the same coverage. So if you are using a 10 kilowatt FM transmitter, for a same coverage with DRM, you need only 1 kilowatt. So that's an additional advantage, in addition to the 3 programs that you can provide. And the third and the most important advantage, which I would appeal to the broadcasters here to look at, is that you don't need any new frequency spectrum or channel in the FM band to run the digital radio. So now we are asking how it will run. Now the chart, if you see here, that the yellow ones are the 2 FM analog carriers, 2 of the operators, and the white space in between is used for the digital radio, which is really the blue spaces. And in this case, I have shown that the 3 slots of digital radio can be put between the 2 channels, which will mean 9 services without affecting any of the analog services. So this is a very compelling argument as to if you need more channels in the FM band, and I know that there are many people asking for more channels in all major cities. So this is the way to go to give the channels to them. And the last point I want to tell you about the compelling reasons is the capital cost and operational cost. If you have 9 FM transmitters providing 9 channels, you need only 3 DRM transmitters, because each of the transmitters provides 3 channels. So you save on the cost. And then you need only 1/10 of the power. You again save on the capital cost. And then since you need much less power, you save on electricity cost. So this is a very win-win situation for the broadcasters to use digital radio. The other compelling factor is the number of many multimedia services that a digital radio provides. As you know, digital radio is not only audio, it is also a visual part to it, and I'll describe to you in some detail what the visual part provides. Now, this is a screenshot of the screen of a digital radio set, TV radio set, and as you see, there are 3 services running, which can be called Eclipse Classic, Eclipse Hits, and Journal Line, 3 services. Now, the Eclipse Club, which is service number 2, provides you up to station logo and service description. It provides you text message, scrolling, which can be used for station identity. It can be used for ad services. It can be used for any promotion. And the third one is the Journal Line, which is a software on which text-based services can be run. Journal Line provides up to 64,000 pages of text for your use, for ad services, for information, for emergency warning. It also provides you the possibility of the slide show. So these are the additional services a digital radio provides, And we expect the radio broadcaster to use these new services to enrich their radio offering to the audiences and get revenues out of that. And that is what will sustain digital radio. Digital radio is not only audio, but it's also the add-on services. For travel information, you can provide travel information through digital radio. This shows a chart of traveling between Jaipur and Delhi, and you can provide all the information about RR centers and traffic information and so on. Digital radio is very useful for emergency warning, and it will be soon a mandatory requirement for all radio stations to provide warning. In addition to the audio warning on the radio, digital radio provides text, as you can see on the left. It provides short text. It provides full description of warning in the middle. There are a number of pages. It provides the information which area is facing the emergency, and it also provides the pictures in terms of slides. And this aspect of emergency warning can be used in any language under the Unicode language. So you can select any language from the receiver itself. Also, it can be useful for those who are hearing impaired. They will also get their warning. And the most important thing is that the digital radio, DRM digital radio, can wake up if it is not in operation, as long as it is connected to power. So the wake-up facility is a great saver of human lives, and this is what really is a commendable aspect of digital radio. Digital radio also provides information on signages. It can be put through a radio station. The city signages can be updated on that. The digital radio helps in augmenting the distance education through visuals, through graphics, through interactive pages. It can store, as I said, 64,000 pages, which can be connected to each other. It can also store an e-book, which can be downloaded during the night time. So it's a great tool for distance education. And lastly, digital radio is very well poised and prepared to provide highway radio because of its low power requirement and because of its high robust signal. So you can provide a digital radio on the highway and enrich the drivers, which they will receive it on their car radios. Now, to the consumer segment. Now, what is the preparation for DRM digital radio available for consumers? Of course, none are available in India as of today, except in the cars. And somebody said 5 lakh cars are there. But these are the radio manufacturers who make digital DRM radios and other radios as well. There are some of the well-known names. And one of them, the Gospel, is a Chinese company, or Mondial is a German company. Opt-M, NXP, and Intot make car radios. And there are many more. And this is a snapshot of the radios available. Some of them, there are many more radios already available in the market. These are available on online supply. As you start your services as broadcasters, these radios will come to the market. Last but not the least, this is a radio which is enabled on the mobile phone. And the dongle that is to be used for this purpose is the antenna. You can also use a headphone as a dongle, and this is the device that works on the handphone to be used as a digital radio, DRM digital radio, the handphone. And this is not a demo model, but this is actually available for this purpose. The dongle is also available. So the digital radio landscape for DRM is complete, and it is for the operators to start services, plan, and the radios will be available to the audiences. So my final submission to you for consideration is, we firmly believe that FM digital radio is there. Its time has come, and it is for us to go forward and implement it in the country. Thank you very much.
On the major digital radio technologies available for FM transmission. We will have discussions on this further. Now I request Mr. Sunaswamy Reddy to come forward for introductory remarks.
Thanks also to Mr. George and Mr. Sadhu for having put out and defined the scope of this session so beautifully till now. Yes, I think from where Mr. Sadhu left it, the time has indeed come for DRM FM radio, digital FM radio. The time has also come for digital AM and also the integration of so much of listening that is happening through various apps and through YouTube and various social media portals. They too need to be integrated. It's time for integrating all kinds of audio programming that is happening on various kinds of platforms. The separation or the division of these into so many different platforms is indeed a problem, and that could also be solved by bringing digital radio to some extent and also integrating the 5G services which are going to come soon. Integrating digital radio and 5G services could really solve this problem of fragmentation or the audience having to move from one platform to another to access different kinds of programmings. Also, by using AI services, it is possible that access to different kinds of programming can be provided in a much far better, superior manner than it is possible now. Aggregations are possible, search facilities would improve, and the utilization of programs which are in video format to have them, their content in audio format or their transcriptions or having them as text or just having them in audio format, because as we know, we often listen to a television program rather than watch it, and with the mobile phone that is becoming more and more the habit, because people are working and some video channel is running on the mobile, so we are actually listening to the radio, not really watching the video. As to the situation of radio in India, let me just chart a few things of historical significance. Actually, radio defined the media narrative for many, many decades, much, much longer by 3 or 4 decades than any other developed country. We had FM coming very late in the 1980s, but we had radio since the 1930s. 1935 onwards, we have had public broadcasting in this country. And it was only AM, and it reached a large percentage of the population from about 70 to now it's about 95 or 96% through AM alone. And when FM came, actually the FM revolution, the public perception that it is the private FM radio. By FM revolution, our understanding is the private FM radio, but the FM revolution happened much earlier on All India Radio. We have had local stations and also metro stations on FM from late 1960s onwards, but the real change and the number of stations grew up rapidly from late 1980s, but mainly in the 1990s. I started working at a local FM radio station in 1991. But the travesty and the perverseness of the situation gives us a big lesson, and it's a lesson for the oncoming digital radio scenario also. Because we had some 40 or 45 FM radio stations operating by mid-95, some of them metro stations, and many of them were local radio stations. That is a radio station meant for a particular district, which was supposed to do local kind of broadcasting, catering to local audiences and their needs. But there were no FM radio sets. I was working at a radio station which was operating for a very big district, the undivided Adilabad district, one of the biggest districts in the Telugu states. And, I was in Kottagudem, the Khammam district. There, in the entire district, maybe some 10 radio sets were available, 10 FM radio sets. And we had a huge FM station with a huge budget, a lot of program staff, engineering support, and all that. So this kind of a situation continued for about 10 years till the entry of private FM radio from 2001 onwards. So by 2005, radio had really kicked back in India thanks to private FM radio operators and the availability of cheap FM radio sets, and then FM being available on mobile radio. Since then, it has been the dominance of FM, and AM radio, which was dominant till about 2000, has now receded and fallen in the place, in the kind of situation in which FM was when FM entered the country. That now we have AM still operating, but very few people tuning to it on AM radio sets. Today, because of this strange situation and the kind of licensing regime that we have, which allows only some kind of, I'll finish that. Yes, sir. Yes. We have a strange situation where private radio has been allowed only in some niche entertainment segment, and they are largely operating using film music. And the public broadcaster has become weaker and weaker. So the kind of entire program, the wide diversity of radio programming, which has been the strength of radio for many years in this country also, has actually gone into the background. And today it is mostly entertainment radio that dominates. Radio hardly has any role in the news segment or in the wide variety of radio programs. All this can be, as I think it will evolve in the process of this discussion, can be restored. Radio can be brought back to its outstanding glory if digital radio can be inscribed or, properly established in the country. Thank you.
First introduce what we do. We are PayTunes. We've been helping broadcasters, OTTs, monetize their digital audio inventory. So we bring them advertisers, which actually keeps the mill running on their side, on broadcaster's side. That's what we do. We've been doing it for 8 years. Now, quickly on this topic that we are discussing, I would like to talk more. I would like to actually segregate these two words. So in digital radio technology, I would like to segregate radio with technology. So radio has been there, as Mr. Reddy said, for a very long time. And technology, we should think more of as we move from AM to FM to OTTs, which give you command over what you are listening to. And as we get into newer technologies, where actually wearables come in, where the integration of devices into one devices is happening pretty rapidly, and we see that integration happening very fast. So that is a point of discussion that I would like to discuss today. So that is my 2 cents that I would like to talk about.
Thanks, Gaurav. And yes, George, I'm self-introducing myself. Hi, everyone. So in the topic of discussion here, analyzing the right digital radio technology, more than anything, I think first we need to focus on the fact that whatever we create, at the end of the day, as business folks or the creative folks, we need to understand who is the consumer. What do they want in the very first place? All these different technologies, mediums are just there for enhancement and also better experience of that one particular consumer. Majority of the times what we fail to discuss is predominantly the consumer. I look forward to actually, couple of giving insights on couple of things that we presume that the radio's charm is lost. People don't listen to radio. The programming in itself is stale. To be honest, now radio is not just about the kind of stories that we are talking on radio or the programming about, be it music programming. It's also about the kind of consumers who would want to connect with a particular personality. That is the real thing, News in an entertainment format gives the layman, a consumer, a right awareness of the effect of the grandeur news. For example, the landslide in Andhra and the entire Chennai gone into under the water almost. Radio Mirchi personally, I'm very much, I'm not saying it's out of pride, but the fact that we as a community radio or also as a commercial radio, we have been the first fronters to help out the local citizens. It's not just about the technology only enhances the reach of such kind of efforts. The technology only and always will be a better in terms of whether when how content or programming also services are provided through it. How do we take the advantage of a particular technology and also not lose out on the entire vision or purpose of it. I look forward to actually having more conversations on that front because at the end of the day, we always have to think about the people. That's where they lie. All of these, eventually are business discussions.
Thank you for that introductory remarks. Now, let us think about the introduction of this digitization process. We are already late. Now, will the issue of the cost of the receiver affect the introduction of this digitization program? I put this question to Mr. Sadhu.
Let me give you an analogy. We all have our own mobile phones. Some of us are 2 or 3. And these are not cheap. They're pretty expensive. But why do we have them? Because they provide us a good service. So if through a digital radio you get a good service, then certainly people will certainly buy them. For example, in the cars, it is already fitted in the car, so you don't have to pay extra for that. But for a home radio or a pocket radio, if the offering is good, and that is if the content and services are good, and if the reception is good, I don't think anybody is going to mind buying a radio for a good price. So that is one part. The other part is that as far as my information goes, you can get a fairly good digital DRM radio between 40 to 50 US dollars with a screen, the text and graphics. If you want a bigger screen, you have to pay more. And the cheapest DRM radio, elementary, is about 20 to 25 US dollars. These are all available online. When you eventually start services, when the operator starts services, and we have a very good operator here, we would like to know about what are their plans, for example, if it is allowed. When they start services and those services are serving the needs of the audiences, and those services provide all the extras that I have pointed out, certainly a market will come up and the stores will store the receivers and they will be sold. So it is always that the operator has to start a service and then the receivers appear in the market. So the question that you asked, Mr. Chairman, is that, is it going to be expensive? My answer is no, it is affordable. And this affordable is when, with respect to the service it gives. If there is no service or the service is poor, then it is not affordable. And the last point I want to make is in the digital transition in our country, both in medium wave radio and in TV. What we have done, we have taken the analog signal and put in the digital side, which is probably the worst thing you can do in broadcasting. So if your service is available in analog, why should anybody go to digital? So this is a very important aspect of the service that has to be provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarath Saab. That was a good intervention what you made. The receiver cost, it's all depending upon the content or the services we offer through that receiver, by which the consumer will be fascinated to buy that receiver even if it is a bit costly. That is what happened. Yes, you can put your point.
I just wanted to say that on the audio front, radio has not seen really much technological upgradation in this country in terms of the quality of audio that we can receive. While video has moved from HD to 4K to 8K, and we are talking about such things, HD radio is still not there in this country. So what the kind of sound experience that we get through the present level of technology that exists in this country is far from what is available on many other audio devices or 5.1 audio or HD audio, which is available through other means, but radio doesn't figure there. So I think that movement is very necessary. Of course, content has to be very good, but the experience of audio through broadcasting has a long way to go.
Mr. Gaurav, you are looking into the business part of the success of the radio technology. By digitization of FM, do you feel the OTT platforms, the internet-based platforms, will be able to sustain with the enhanced facilities of digital FM?
Yeah, so basically, see, what I would like to say is, to Mr. Reddy's point, and even what Mr. Sadhu was saying. See, basically, it's not a, first of all, let me just take 1 minute to address that. It's not a question of affordability of the device. If you can buy a FM transmitter for 200 rupees now, right? It's more about what the user wants, as Vani had said, right? Eventual merging of devices is going to happen. We've been seeing across devices, this has been happening. Now, if you ask me from monetization point of view, for me, it does not matter what the device is, right? Till the time the content is being delivered and the users are being engaged with, there's an opportunity to deliver ads and to monetize that content. And yeah, so basically it's not the device as such. Obviously, if the devices integrate, if you bring in digital radio technologies, then if engagement increases, it is going to be relevant change that everybody needs, right? But that is not what the primary driver would be, right? The primary driver would be how you reach out to your consumers, like Mani said, how you engage with them. And OTT and other platforms in audio have been doing it pretty efficiently as of now. Just to talk in terms of statistics, in India, audio OTT is on an average daily song listens of around 200 million. That is the number, 20 crores. Songs are being listened on a daily basis. Now, when you think of that number, then on the other side, if you're bringing in digital radio technology, then you have to think about how I can actually reach the engagement levels that these mediums are able to deliver. So that is my two.
You can have your concluding remarks, then there is a paucity of time.
To be honest, I agree with Gaurav, and I think we both have been discussing about it's not just about the technology and also availability for the consumers to making it easier for them. They don't bother about Saregama equipment or some other equipment. They just need the favorite show to be listened at their own feasibility, be it on a mobile phone. Yes, these technologies, if the content services or FM services can be bought and more closer to the consumer, that's all that we would want. At the end of the day, it's more about what kind of consumption patterns are we looking at, and to create and cater to that kind of consumption patterns, along with innovation on programming, along with enhancement in technology. That's all I would say. At the end of it, that's all I would like to conclude with.
Thank you. Now, due to the paucity of the time, we are not able to extend it further. Now, I am just making the concluding remark. It is high time, or we are rather late to start the digitization process of FM. In a country like Indonesia, if they have started it, why India, such a big, larger country with a lot of resources, cannot start it? We should start it at the right moment now. And the volume of the demand or volume, the content will decide the success of digitization of FM. Receiver cost is not a factor. It is definitely going to come because the requirement is in millions. With this, I conclude this session. Thank you to the fellow panelists and all the participants in the conference hall for your keenness in attending this conference. Thank you to the organizers for giving this opportunity to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. George. I think curated so well and with all the opening remarks of all our key panelists. Mr. George, just one last bit, if we can request you to help us with the felicitation of our panelists. And could we have now the mementos being passed on the stage? First up, a big thank you to Mr. Sharad Sadhu for opening this great conversation. Could we have Mr. George and Mr. Sharad in one frame? Sharad, of course, highly spoke about the digital radio, which is the DRM FM, and spoke about the importance of it in a very great way. Thank you so much, Sharad, for joining us. If I could now have Mr. Sumanstapati ready to kindly join us in the frame with Mr. George. Thank you so much, Mr. Reddy, for bringing in your wealth of experience today at the panel. If I could now have Mr. T. Gaurav. In the nick of time, you managed, but what an excellent conversation in the time we could have with you, Mr. Gaurav. Thank you for joining us today and honoring us with your presence. And of course, Ms. Vani bringing her exuberance and creative content, being the content leader, being a leader in her field. Let's give it a warm round of applause, and rather all of them. Some great work right there. And if I could now have Daniel, who's the head of operations of PDA Ventures Private Limited, Daniel Fergaso, if I got that right. All right, Daniel Fergaso. He's going to be helping us in felicitating our moderator, Mr. I. George. What an excellent curation of the content and so timely done by Mr. George. Thank you so much. And with Daniel and all our panelists in one frame, can we get you as a group photograph for this discussion? So on the stage, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. I. George, Mr. Sharad Sadhu, Mr. Sumanstapati Reddy, Mr. T. Gaurav, Ms. Vani Madhavi, and Mr. Daniel. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for tuning in for this live conversation. Once again, a big thank you to all our panelists. First up, we have the General Turkey Consulate, Orhan Yalman, who's joined us today. Orhan, let's get you on the stage and let's honor him with a warm round of applause. Thank you so much, Orhan. Joining Orhan is right now the CEO of Cymax Infotainment Private Limited, Gauri Shankar, and a Bollywood actress who's the first actress to act in a virtual reality movie, Miss Karnika Singh, featuring in the movie Stargate. So honoring all the three of them, we've got Orhan, we've got Gauri Shankar, and we've got Miss Karnika Singh. May we request Daniel now to step forward and help us with the individual felicitation. A warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Orhan Yalman, Mr. Gauri Shankar, and Miss Karnika Singh. Karnika, I believe a beautiful bouquet of roses will do justice to your beauty today. And so for Mr. Gauri Shankar, let's bloom the leadership with those bouquets for you. And if I could now have, even for our lady out there, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us and honoring us with the presence. We wish you all the very best for your future endeavors, and thank you so much for joining us. So with that, we may request you to now join the audience, and thank you so much for being a part of our first edition of BME